All right, for the following sessions, we have a distinguished speaker with us. Mr. Yodsapat Sornnork will guide on the power workshop developing fluency in four essential skills. Mr. Sornnork is a dedicated student in the Faculty of Education majoring in English at Silpakorn University. His passions for language and education have driven him to dive into the intricacies of developing fluency in four essential skills: reading, writing, speaking, and listening. Throughout the workshop, Mr. Sornnork will share his insights, experience, and valuable knowledge to guide us in honing these crucial skills. As we engage in parallel sessions focused on each skill, we have a unique opportunity to enhance our proficiency and foster a deeper understanding of effective language acquisition. Without further ado, let the power workshop developing fluent in four essential skills commence. I encourage everyone to actively participate, ask questions, and make the most out of this enriching learning experience. Thank you, and let the journey toward ancient language fluency begin.
Thank you, Panathon. All right, allow me to share my screen first. Do you see my screen? The workshop and welcome banner.
Yes.
Yeah, nice. Okay, let us begin. Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the workshop section. My name is Yodsapat Sornnork, or you can call me Finn. I am your guide through this workshop section for this afternoon. Before we begin, I would like to inform you that we require you to have a handout. Handout. If you haven't got one, I believe you can ask for it in the chat box along with the questions that may surface during the sessions. I do believe that our team will do our best to deliver what is needed. Next, I would like to talk about the outline of the workshop. In this workshop, that consists of two parts. The first part is the part that I talk about the consideration when creating an activity, as well as the useful prompts. The second part is a breakout room part where you can apply the knowledge you gain from me to create an activity. We will talk about it later down the line. So without any further ado, let's begin. Dun, dun. On to the first page of the handout, consideration when creating an activity. When creating an activity, there ought to be something that you should keep in mind or something you should be concerned. These are the ones from many that I have chosen from. Be aware that even though I'm an English teacher, and I do teach English, these principles of consideration should apply to all subjects across the board. On to the first one, which is evaluation. So you might think that evaluation should be the last thing to consider, but I do think that evaluation should be the first thing, as it is directly tied to the learning objective. One might say, without evaluation, it renders teaching pointless. On to the next one. The second one is skill in language learning. We oftentimes focus on skills as the basis, which we use to develop learning activities. So when creating an activity, we should be wary about what skill is the main focus and what is not. So they tend to tag along together, because they are intertwined, interconnected. Now, the third one is the level of students. We should be aware of the capability of our students. This could mean we should know what level of proficiency they are at, and that is to decide on the difficulty of the content. So get to know your student. The next one is time. Some say without time, there is no motion and therefore no action. So time is quite essential to our existing things, including activity. To be wary of the time is to be prioritizing time. Be aware of the time that an activity could take. Maybe it's too short, maybe it's too long. Try to find a balance between the two, and that is the way to go. And the last one is context, which is almost as important in language teaching as it is in activity creating, because without context, the matter might be interpreted incorrectly, causing troubles. In this context, though, it means two things, which are familiarity with the content and complexity of the activity. Let's talk about the familiarity of the content. All right. This means that we should explore what our students are familiar with, because without the familiarity at all, our student might feel a bit alienated and might think among themselves as to why our student bring out a topic that is so outlandish to them, like these shrimps and octopuses. Just one. Right. For example, if you are teaching in America at an American school, cause the student is American, right? And suddenly you bring up พ่อขุนรามคำแหง out of thin air and expecting them to know who this is. Of course, they wouldn't get it, and neither did the people who is not Thai in this room. I highly recommend teachers use the content that their students are familiar with, as not only it contributes to the attention, but also develop affection to the students that the student have toward the subject. For example, we change พ่อขุนรามคำแหง to Batman. We change George Washington to something that Thais know or Japanese know. Cool. Now, let's talk about the complexity of the activity. Let's just say that basically, when you create an activity, you should be aware that the students are able to do that activity. Well, because if the activity is overly complex or difficult, there would not be learning happening. There would be just suffering. That being said, I encourage you to try new things, to see the ability and the limit of your students and yourself. You might lose an hour or two, but you also gain knowledge by doing so. All right. Jump off from the consideration, and this right here, we now have the components of the objectives. First off, what is an objective? An objective basically is the goal you want your student to reach, which is so subjective actually. I was taught that a good objective should consist of three parts, as you can see right here. The first one is the action verbs, where the teacher could observe the thing that we can observe and assess. For example, the word like write, answer, tell, or from this example right here, identify. The second part is the condition in which the action of the verb takes place or affects. For example, from the picture, from this sentence about something, or from the example that's shown right here, the number of fruits from the picture. And together three, we have the example, identify the number of fruits from the picture correctly. Now to the third part right there, correctly. This one is a criterion, which is how we say that our students have reached the goal. It could be in the manner of quality or the subject of quantity. We can just say correctly, which is correct, properly, which is proper, or at least one or two times. That's how they taught me, at least. So now, with those considerations in mind, let's jump into the main reasons for the workshop in the first place, the useful prompts, which is on the second page. Please pay attention as you would need these things here to use to create activity in the next section, which is the breakout rooms. The main tool that we will be using today is the AI chat assistant called ChatGPT. You can also use other chat AI such as Google Bard, Microsoft Bing, Jasper, or maybe ChatSonic. They are unique in their own way as the function varied, but fundamentally, they are relatively the same. For the sake of simplicity, we'll be using the ChatGPT for our session today. All right. On to the first one, which is the prompts for creating an activity. we have two ones to present to you. The first one is the broad prompts, which will give you the leeway on an idea that you can further improve upon. So, like this one right here, list me the activities to develop students and the skill, language skill that you wanted to tell the activity that develop those skills, such as like list me the activity to develop students, speaking skill. And all right. Oh, too much. All right. Be aware that difficulty may vary as it is not specific when it gives you. Well, the next one is more tailored. This is a more tailored prompts. This one will give you a list of specific activities according to your prompts. For better or worse, you can also add the content that you want the AI to make the activity out of by using colon. As the example here, give me the language skill activities for learners level in their context with the limit of time. These words in blanket you can replace with the context that you are in your condition. For example, give me listening activities for grade 9 students in Lao with the limit of 15 minutes, or list me speaking activities for undergraduate students in the rural area with the limit of 15 minutes. Right. Let me scroll for a second. Now, let me demonstrate. Here, can you see the ChatGPT?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So if you have logged into the ChatGPT, it would look kind of like this. You can either start with a fresh new chat on the upper left-hand corner and type away what you want, or start a new one. Because if you like continue with the one that you have talked to it earlier, the content of the chat might interfere with the context that you're trying to ask the activity from. So I suggest you start anew. Let me copy the prompt that I have talked about earlier. All right. So list me the activities to develop students. What skill should I use? Listening. For the sake of simplicity, you can use like pronunciation, vocabulary, expressions, anything you like. But for the sake of simplicity, I will just use the skills that we have for them. Listening. Right. Give me many. And it will list it out for you. Well, sure. Cool. As you can see, when you use the broader prompts, it will give you the list, but the list is quite diverse and varied in difficulty. Like, for example, listening stations, pan groups activities, audio-visual materials. Some of these is not even the same level. What should we do? Yeah, I suggest you give it more context, making it more specific to make it tailored to your needs. So I'm gonna copy the more tailored one in here, like the second one, I guess it could work. So start new one. Right. List me speaking activities for undergraduate students in the rural area with the limit of 15 minutes. And it will give you the more tailored activity suggestions. Yep. Oh, it understands that, oh, the sum of all the activities combined is 15 minutes. Or sometimes it's like this. It's kind of silly. We're developing it. We are trying to improve it one by one, minute by minute. So don't worry about it. But the idea are there, right? Cool. So after this, let me talk a bit about the breakout rooms. In the breakout rooms, you will have to do the same as I just did, creating an activity and fill in the section within the Padlet that looks kind of like this. Can you see the Padlet page?
Yes, of course.
Right.
Yes.
It will look kind of similar to this. All you have to do is copy from the replies that the ChatGPT generated for you into one of the section of the Padlet. They will talk about it a bit more later, those moderators in the room. For each section here, they will require you to type in the different prompts. For example, to get this long procedure, you have to type in the next prompts that I'm going to tell you. So back to the handout, on to the next prompt. The next prompt is for explaining the activity's procedure, because generating just the name of activity wouldn't help teachers. But if we got procedure, that's another story. So this is the another step when you have found the activity you like. You can ask for more detail from the AI, something like roles of the teacher and students in the classroom, maybe the procedure of the activity itself. You can ask more detail from it. Yep. For now, I'm going to try to ask it for more detail. Gonna choose one that I like from here. Yep. We have quick debate. We have role play scenarios. I think role play scenarios could work. So I'm gonna use the prompts from the second one for explaining the activities procedure. So give me what to right. Okay. So give me detailed instructions of, we can copy it here and put it instead of blanket. Right there. Give me the detailed instructions of role play scenarios. Enter. Hold off for a second. And it will give you everything that you need. Still recording minutes. Okay, it will give you everything that you need. Like even the objective, the material needed, the instructions, introduction, scenario selection, everything. Right. If you want it to be more detailed, you can enter the role of student or the role of the teacher and make it like giving it out in the table form. That could work too. Easier to read. All right. So back to the handout. Here you go. Next is for creating a grading criteria. As I stated, without evaluation, teaching is kind of pointless. So we have two categories here. We have the simple grading criteria, scoring rubric creating, and also specific, making it more contextualized. These prompts right here give us some hope, as it can give us the scoring rubrics that we need. We can also make it concise, or maybe add in some of the criteria that is required in our classroom or curriculum, basically. The possibilities here are endless. Here, let me show you. So after you choose the activity and ask it for the procedure, you can also ask it to create a scoring rubric and grading criteria with that instruction, with that prompts. Up to you, right? So I say, create a scoring rubric for this activity. And enter, here we go, let's go. What do we have here? Wow, it's automatically give us table. Quite smart a bit. And the summer score is 30 points. We can change it. And you got the idea, right? You now got the idea, something that you could improve upon. It's just stepping stone that you could step on and walk to the next step, which is pretty neat in our time and age of AI. So this last one is asking for suggestion and advice. Like, for example, tell me about the possible problems from role playing and how to solve it. This is quite powerful because not only we know forehand that what the problems could be, but also how to counter it. Yeah, but I also suggest you not only ask the AI here, but also your coworker, because ultimately the AI is just a program. It does not know the exact detail of your students or the condition of your living, of your teaching, but your colleagues may very well know and could help you in advance. They maybe have the experience with those students that you're trying to teach before. So I recommend you ask your colleagues and also ask the AI because, conversations starter. So to wrap it up, AI is like any other tools, good for what it is made to do. Without practicing or understanding of the tool, its capability can only be so much, and you got the back so. But now you do. So it's quite a time to take it. It is quite a time. How long do I have left? How much time do I have left?
1 minute left.
1 minute left. Okay, then wrap it up. Okay, it is time to take the knowledge you gain from me and apply it to create an activity within the breakout rooms. There are 4 rooms in the breakout rooms for each skill, namely listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Within those rooms, there will be moderators and speakers assisting you in creating an activity to suit your needs. And also, they will give you tips, tricks, and talk about some other AI tools as well. If you're ready, please join the room we assign you. Well, as for me, I'll stay here. See you soon.